The Ballon d'Or and any other stupid popularity award does not matter in football. And I think it's crazy when we see a lot of people say, oh, he needs to move to win Ballon d'Or. No, he doesn't. Friday afternoons. This week, we've got a few different topics. So let's get straight into it. Wally Dury with the first question said, should the Ballon d'Or be scrapped? It has mainly become a popularity contest.
See, I kind of get where this person is coming from with the whole popularity contest. I think it just needs to maybe be changed a little bit, because I think the criteria needs to be adjusted, because I don't get how they're considering it. Is it just because this is a team sport? Are they looking at how a team has done and then how a player has done? Like, do they consider how a person has played in a team? Like, I'm very confused, because it's like, it does seem more like a popularity contest, because you look at, I think like we were discussing it last week, like players that have missed out. Like, you go back to 2010 and I think, was it like Wesley Sneijder who, he'd got to like a World Cup final.
He won the treble with Inter.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, why is this kid not being considered? Like, why is he not winning it? Like, I just think it's, in that sense, it does feel like a popularity contest. I think I don't like that it's weighted so much to attacking players. I get attacking players might be more like entertaining because they're scoring goals. But it's like, you think about how long this competition's been going on. I think, is it like 3 defenders and 1 goalkeeper that's won it? And I just think I think the criteria needs to be altered. I think it needs to be more inclusive. And I maybe can't see it changing whilst this whole Messi Ronaldo saga's going on.
Yeah, probably
I
not.
would just like to see that drift off into the sunset, onto the lovely horizon, and we've all enjoyed that. That was great. And then kind of usher in a new format or something that I think it just needs to be a bit more inclusive. Yeah.
I have so many qualms with the Ballon d'Or. I just don't care. I don't know why people care.
I think that's the thing as well.
It is a popularity contest because it's just a French magazine that gives it out.
Yeah.
I'm so lost.
Maybe something more, not official, but I understand why people would want to get rid of it.
The thing is, this FIFA's the best, or whatever it's called, which isn't the most appealing name, technically is more official because it is the Football Federation. This is the Ballon d'Or, right? In terms of actual, not impact, but in terms of how many kind of points it adds on to a player's career, it is 0.
Yeah,
absolutely 0. One-football could have their own awards, and it'd be just as important.
Maybe
I'm not sure Ronaldo would come to our ceremony, but you never know.
You never know.
Go on next.
Next question. This is from Samuel. So this is for you, Matt, obviously. Do you think individual awards are more impressive than team awards?
Oh, God. Yeah, no, this follows on from that. No. Football is a team sport. This really winds me up, as you can tell. People play football to win team awards because that's what football is. You play for these football clubs who are in certain competitions and they hold weight because everyone's involved and everyone's got a chance of winning, and that is what you play football for.
Yeah.
You don't play football for these individual awards from a nonsensical football magazine in France that is based on popularity and that is basically based on opinion. You know, coaches and journalists and I think some players as well, I think national team captains, get to vote on the Ballon d'Or, right? That is basically their opinion. The journalist's opinion, a journalist, someone who's not even involved in football, right? Someone who doesn't have a say. And it's a popularity contest and it's an opinion contest, and you can be such a big fan of Ronaldo that you just hate Messi and you never ever vote for him, right? There's nothing to do with football. You can love or you can hate, I don't know, Sergio Ramos, right? Whether you love him or you hate him, he is involved in the Copa del Rey, La Liga, and the Champions League if Real Madrid qualify it every single season. That is not opinion. That is fact. Those are the competitions that his team are involved in, and he is part of that team. If his team wins those, they count for something on his personal record. The Ballon d'Or and any other stupid popularity award does not matter in football, and I think it's crazy when we see a lot of people say, oh, he needs to move to win Ballon d'Or. No, he doesn't. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of players in the history of football who have enjoyed their career, who have made a lot of money, who have had brilliant moments they'll savour for the rest of their life, and they've achieved everything they wanted to in their footballing career. and couldn't give two shits about the Ballon d'Or because it doesn't concern them. You know, and Haaland or Mbappe don't need to concern their footballing careers with who's, are they going to have the best chance of winning the Ballon d'Or? Screw it. They want to have fun in their football career, make money, score lots of goals, please people, entertain people. Go for it. Don't worry about some stupid individual awards. So no, team awards are far more impressive. Thank you, Samuel, for the question. Sorry, Angelina, for the rant.
It's okay.
Next up, Hasbul Suhaimi has said, would you rather have 5 Ballon d'Ors, here we go, for one of your team's players, or a treble for your team? Okay, so let's say, I don't know, Rashford or Pogba has 5 Ballon d'Ors, or United win the treble.
As lovely as it would be to see a Premier League player win the Ballon d'Or, because it's been a very, very long time. Of course you're going to go for the treble. Like, are you crazy? Like, come on. And I'm all right. I don't really want to see United win the Premier League again or the Champions League again. Now that I'm good, as long as Rashford's got his trophies.
Can you imagine you and your mates down the pub, right? And when Rashford goes up to lift the Ballon d'Or, you all jump on each other and celebrate like you've won a title.
Exactly.
That would just be the weirdest thing ever.
Exactly. It's like, watching someone win the Ballon d'Or, the excitement of a Champions League final. Definitely the Champions League final.
Can't wait to go on an away day to the Ballon d'Or awards.
The thing is, like,
Lord.
I couldn't even tell you like the actual date of when the Ballon d'Or is. Like, do you know what I mean?
Me neither.
It happens at some point.
It just sort of happens. It's just upon you, and then you find out that every single year someone leaks the final list, and you know who's won it before, and then you get someone like bloody David Guetta at the ceremony doing his DJ bit, and you're thinking, this is not what I'm in football for. I'm here for the finals and the entertainment, and for God's sakes. Let's move on from the Ballon d'Or. Johnny Nick, next up, so we're talking about some rivalries now, has said, what categorises a great derby in your opinion? Is it all about the history of the match?
So I feel like history does play a role. I don't think it's necessarily like the biggest thing, but I just think when you're watching a derby with history, you remember like other great derbies, and you remember certain players, and you remember like where you were in your life when that derby happened, or who was your favourite player at that point, and blah, blah, blah. So I think history's got to play a role.
Yeah, for sure.
In a decent derby, because that's how you surely get that kind of rivalry, because you had years and years of going up against each other. I think as well, maybe more back in the day, not as much now, but still, I think it's nice to have a couple of local players in it. I think that makes it a little bit more, I don't want to say heated, but like it's, it
means more, yeah.
It means more, if you've got, I'm trying to think of an example, but if you go back to, I don't know, like a Liverpool-Everton derby, if you've got players that are from Liverpool or from those parts of Liverpool, Merseyside, that have, been diehard Everton fans or diehard Liverpool fans as kids, they're now playing for their teams, and now they're playing against the biggest rivals. Like, there's a lot more, I think, emotion and passion in it, 100%. I think you've got to have decent fans. Any game's got to have decent fans, but I am a fan of, a little bit of drama every now and then. I think you need a derby that every now and then you've had a little, maybe a little wide poke, a little push, a little, all of those things. Yeah, but I love derbies.
Me too. The history defines it, definitely.
Yeah.
But for me, I think we might get onto this a little bit later with some questions. Everyone always talks about the difference in a derby or a rivalry, and I feel like what categorises a great derby for me is the bragging rights of just beating your opponent. I don't think and as you say with Liverpool, with being in the same city and understanding what it means culturally, I don't think a rivalry or what's in stake in terms of success necessarily categorises a good derby. Yeah,
because I guess if you look at like when Liverpool are challenging for titles, challenging for top 4 Champions League spots, Everton maybe aren't necessarily in that same category. Yeah. But if Everton win the derby, then that means, fans can be like, you know what, yeah, we're not going to get into a Champions League spot, but we have beaten Liverpool.
But this is the thing, and that means so much more, even though they're not challenging.
Exactly.
And the thing is, if you put all the hopes of a derby on points or titles, for me it takes it away, because not every team is doing that. I mean, Tottenham Arsenal is a great example. Yeah. If they win, neither of them are winning the Premier League. Neither of them are taking a huge step towards the Champions League. I'm not saying there's nothing to play for, but even without the promise of a trophy, obviously it's different in cup competitions, without the promise of a trophy or a title at the end of it, or winning a Champions League spot, that's all they're playing for, is the fact that it is a derby, and I think that's what makes it great. It's, as I said, we'll get into it later, but it's different from a rivalry. It's different from a rivalry for sure. Darren Elliott has said, so I got a question about rivalry. Seeing there are some big club rivalries in each league, would you say that some rivalries even matter? Just an example, Barca versus Espanyol is so one-sided. Sending love to you guys from Trinidad and Tobago. Wow.
Thank you. I love Trinidad and Tobago. That's so nice that people are like watching from all corners of the world. That's lovely.
Wow.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember about Trinidad is Dwight York.
Yeah.
United as well.
Anyway,
go on.
I think I've been to Tobago, definitely. But
it's two separate islands, huh?
Yeah.
See, this is an informational show as well.
The whole rivalry thing, I mean, I can understand why maybe on paper people are like Barcelona, Espanyol, not that big of a deal, but I guess it's kind of like what you were saying. It's maybe not as much of a rivalry.
It's a local derby.
It's a local derby, like you say, and it is. I think they still have their place, even if you go down to, small parts of, different countries where they've got these little derbies and stuff that maybe don't mean that much to everybody else, but to these villages or cities or towns or whatever, this is what they live for. And I think, I guess in the big leagues, some of them don't necessarily matter, but I think regarding what they mean culturally and what they mean for local fans, I think you've got to love a local rivalry, local derby.
And this is the thing I think we said earlier. Derbies are derbies no matter where they're played.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you look there's so many examples of it, and I think that's the difference in a rivalry. A rivalry is when you're both going for the same thing. Right? Liverpool City has become a massive rivalry. They're both going for the title. If Liverpool were to drop off, or you look at 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and Liverpool were doing great in the Premier League and City were nowhere, or City were in the second division, no one's saying, I can't wait till City come up and then we can see Liverpool City. That's a rivalry because of the circumstances they're in. Now, the Clasico's a bit different because they've both been at the top for so long and they've developed history where it's almost like a derby. But yeah, you're right. The local derby is so different because it spreads into everything. Recently, Hamburg were relegated for the first time ever from the Bundesliga, and their local derby with St. Pauli, they're in the same city, was in the second division. Do you think it was any less of a derby because they're in the second division?
Wasn't.
Absolutely not. I've seen Turkish football fans turn up to like under-9s indoor tournaments, like Besiktas fans against someone else with like flares and flags.
100%. I think you see that in Manchester, like the academy, City,
for sure.
and everyone's like walking down the street in shirts.
But this is it, and this is something you'd learn. Like whether you're going for the Premier League title between United and City, or whether you're in the under-9s league that means nothing, you still know that it's your derby rivals, and just to get one up on them, regardless of the competition, is what it's all about. So I think to say that they don't matter. Look, Barcelona and Espanyol aren't rivals because they're not rivaling each other for anything, but it is a derby and it definitely matters. And it doesn't just matter from Espanyol, by the way. Barcelona are well aware of Espanyol, get fully riled up, and just ask Gerard Piqué what he thinks of Espanyol. He is onto them, and it means just as much to them, even though they're far superior to Espanyol than any other game, for sure.
Yeah, I think Piqué has a lot of issues with him. He seems to be really angry sometimes, and I don't get why, because it's like he's married to Shakira. Like that must be great.
Everything's going great. He just hates Espanyol. He just hates him.
Okay, next question is from Cecil Tack. So this is your moment, Matt. What is the sweetest rival victory you can remember? So come on, share with us.
There's not that many because Spurs hardly ever beat Arsenal. I mean, the first one when Tim Sherwood scored in 1999 was the first time I'd ever seen Spurs beat Arsenal, and Stefan Everson scored as well. And Arsenal had 2 men sent off, Vieira and Keown, I think. That was amazing. Certainly in Spurs Arsenal we're talking about. There's Spurs West Ham and Spurs Chelsea as well. Yeah, every victory is just great. This is the thing, like, you know, the 5-1 victory in the semi-final of the League Cup was phenomenal because Spurs hadn't beaten them. There's a 3-2 win at the Emirates, the only time Spurs have won away at Arsenal in my lifetime.
Wow.
In the league. They won in the League Cup last season, I think. Yeah, I mean, Harry Kane scoring a double and beating Arsenal was pretty spectacular as well. They were all sweet. Right, next up, Jack Hyatt says, what is the biggest sporting achievement in football for a coach or a player? Champions League or the World Cup? Damn, that's a good question.
So, as a coach, Champions League, you know, I think is pretty special because if you're a coach of, I don't know, I won't pick Manchester United because everyone will say it's all I talk about, but I don't know, say you're Chelsea's coach and you get them to a Champions League final, like that is amazing because you have beaten the best of the best, and it's not just like where national teams are like, it's just their national team. This is a team that is like, you know, if you're playing Barcelona in the final and you beat them, that is a team where they have handpicked some of the greatest players from kind of all over the world. But then at the same time, with a World Cup, there are less World Cups, obviously, so there are less chances to win it. And again, you can kind of flip that and say, well, you haven't been able to buy some of the world's greatest players to make you a great team. You have literally been given players that are eligible to play for your country, and you have moulded them. And also, I think, so I would probably say for a coach, if it was me, I would probably say a World Cup, because I just think that group of players don't play together as often. A lot of them, you know, you especially see in England, a lot of them, you know, for their clubs, there's a lot of rivalries and tensions between these players, but you manage to get them to come together, to gel together, to work together. And especially for England, carry the weight of a nation on your shoulders. So to do that, I think a player, and again, I think it depends on the player, but I think players might even go for a World Cup as well, because again, it's not as often, and and I think just because it isn't a team, it's a team that's just been kind of given, and you've got to try and make it as good as you can make it. You can't buy players to make it better. So I think from a team perspective, you're moulding a really great team. So it's a hard one, though.
Yeah, the thing is, for a coach to be given what you've got in terms of a national team and moulding them and getting them to win the World Cup is amazing. For a player, it has to be... The World Cup would be amazing, but if you're stuck with a terrible nation, or you just know that your team's never going to be that good, like, being in a Champions League winning team is the pinnacle of your regular football, of your career. Yeah. You know, your international career could be non-existent if you come from a country where they don't have very good players. And I think, if you win it in a big team, you're at the pinnacle of European football in winning the Champions League. So, it's different for coaches and players. I would happily win both, though. Okay, next question. So this is from Samuel Colterham. So, do you think footballers deserve to be on such high wages, earning more a week than most people a year? Oh, we have this conversation so much. People in the comment section. Yes, they do. I'm sorry for anyone who's angry and bitter and sad, and maybe who doesn't earn so much money, or who wants to be a footballer but didn't. Yes, those guys are at the top of their profession. They are in such a small percentage. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't think of a profession where the amount of applicants and the amount of people who want to be a footballer compared to the amount who actually do. Yeah. So the success percentage is so small. Yeah. Like, there is so much competition to get to the top level. Do you face that in any other job?
I think and again, it's a sport, the only thing I can think of that comes close is maybe something like boxing.
Yeah, boxing is the amount of people want to box.
It's a sport, isn't it? So.
Yeah, it's a sport. And look, people want football. People pay for football. If the business is very successful, just like any other business in the world, and they want to be the best in the business and want to keep the best and have the best, you pay the best money. The same thing happens with all sorts of hedge fund managers and bankers and lawyers and judges and all this sort of stuff. And God knows who else, and movie stars and whatever. If you're at the top of the top, you're obviously the best of the best. So you're paid respective to that in a very successful business. I remember someone saying that, all nurses and army people should be paid the same as footballers. I think, well, it's a lot easier to get into the army or to become a nurse than it is to become a footballer. I mean, you can go and study to become a nurse. I'm not saying it is easy by any stretch of the imagination. Big props to the nurses and the doctors out there and whatever. But yeah, the top of that game, I don't know, the heart surgeons and the brain surgeons, they're in such a small percentage that they do deserve to be paid more.
Yeah, and I think, especially when you look at sports stars, sportswomen, I think it's just the amount of dedication.
That's another thing.
And yeah, you know what? There are some players who maybe take the mick a little bit. You look at, like Wayne Rooney wasn't always the most responsible, shall we say, in looking after himself. But you look at somebody like Ronaldo, who literally lives, sleeps, breathes, eats it. Like every single part of his life is controlled by football, like what he eats. Then you look at kind of the fame side of it and what they have to deal with. We could all sit here and say, you know what, I'd love to be famous and earn loads of money because I'd rather, sit and cry in a Porsche than cry on the bus. Yeah. Like we've all said that, I'm sure, but the actual extent of it, like I remember watching this video of Ronaldo going to a coffee shop or a cafe or something like that in Madrid, and he ordered a chamomile tea, and it was how many sips of tea could he have, and I think he had 3 sips and took 150 photos. Like there's a lot that they have to deal with, and like you say, not even just the physical side of it of, no, you can't go and have a burger if you want. Like you have to be so disciplined. You can't drink, you can't do whatever. And then it's also, well, you can't go there if you want to go there because you're going to get judged by people. You're going to get mobbed by fans. Like it's a lot.
On top of the mentality thing, I think what you said about dedication is so true. If there is whatever you want to do, whether it's football or not, whatever you want to do, if you dedicate yourself for as long as, let's take Ronaldo for 20, he's been playing football, 25, 26 years since he was a kid. You do that. Do the dedication thing for 25, 26 years. Make it to the level that these top players are at in whatever field you want. And then tell me they get paid too much. Because I guarantee you'll be sitting pretty as well. I guarantee whatever you want to become, if you're at the top of that sport or that whatever, obviously relative to the business size. So if the money's not in a sport like, when the funding gets reduced in the Olympic sport, it's obviously a bit different. If you're going to be at the very, very top, you'll understand the dedication. It can't be something that... It wouldn't make sense if that was available to everyone. And lastly, I always think about this. If anyone has a problem with the amount of money that footballers earn, don't buy into it.
Yeah.
Don't buy the TV package, which goes straight to the broadcasters, which then goes to the teams, which then goes to the players. Don't buy their shirt. Don't buy their merchandise. Don't follow them on Instagram if you don't want them to have that money. But that's your prerogative. They deserve exactly what they get because they're at the top of their field. Obviously, with the finances forbidding. Because someone will tell me that, someone's at the top of a badminton field and they don't earn as much money as Ronaldo. I'm like, you have to take into account the business. That is a big rant. So, next up, and Shahid Ali said, which player would you go out to eat with? Love the consistency during the virus. Road to 500k. Hit that subscribe button. Yes. Doing the shout outs for us. We'll get to 400k first, but then the road to 500k continues. Who would you eat with?
Oh my God, that is so hard.
Who was it who took their date to Nando's? Was it Lingard or Rashford or someone?
It was Adnan Januzaj.
Oh, that was it. It was Januzaj.
For people who have seen me on other channels, I am not discussing that guy. Because, yeah.
That's so funny. Where would you eat? Which player even?
Oh, where would I eat?
Which player and where?
Oh my God, that is so hard. Because it's like, are you thinking of like, they're gonna like want to go to a really good place? Are they gonna like, because like Ronaldo's gonna have a salad or something probably. So I don't want to sit with someone who's eating a salad.
Yeah.
So, but is it more of the conversation? One person that I would love to go out to dinner with, and it's not a player, so I'm sorry, I'm not really going negative, but I would have to go with Sir Alex Ferguson because he loves the red wine. I am impartial to a red wine. He also doesn't take any crap of people like wanting loads of pictures and stuff like that. He's like, I'll do it. Apparently, I don't know, but apparently he's like, I'll do it when I'm ready. Like, let me just eat my meal first. So I feel like we'd have, everyone's really scared of him, so people aren't probably going to like ambush us as much. And we'd probably go out to eat in Manchester. I do like a steak. I feel like Fergie would like a steak as well, so maybe Hawksmoor, which is very nice in town. Yes, that's who I would go for. Sorry, I've not gone for a player, but
I'm actually going to stick with the Manchester team and go with Juan Mata because he has a couple of Spanish restaurants in Manchester.
Yes, he does.
So I like Spanish food. He seems like a really nice guy, and I always feel like he'd give me a tour of the kitchen and give me some information on all the food I'm eating.
Yeah. Oh, he is so nice. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Have you been to his restaurant?
I have also been, and I didn't know I was there. I didn't know who owned it until I'd eaten later. A place that Pep Guardiola has some kind of chef.
Yeah. I've heard about that too.
Called Tast, and I was like, this was really good. And then someone said to me, "Oh yeah, Guardiola." I was like, "What?" I was like, "I have lined his pocket." I was like, no, never again. Okay, last question. This is from Ayan Garg saying, do you have an educational degree? If yes, in what subject?
Oh, degree. Yeah, in sports coaching.
Nice.
Sports coaching with an emphasis on, I did a thesis on youth football in Europe and England. That was really interesting. Nice. What about you?
Yeah, mine, my undergrad was English language and Spanish, which was cool because I got to go to Madrid for a year. And then I did a master's in sports journalism. So yeah, nice question that.
So you're the journalist here. I'm just the coach. I just like talking about football. Right, that is the end. That has been a very long episode, but we hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, thank you so much for your questions for me and Angelina. Every Wednesday night in the YouTube community tab is where you can leave your questions for Friday's Q&A. I say it every week, and I still get some people saying, Matt, where can I leave my questions? It's clear they didn't watch to the end of the video. Anyway, thank you so much. As always, make sure you smash the like button, and like Shahid Ali said, do subscribe. Because on the road to 400k first. Until next time, though, we will see you guys later.